The morning sun cast long shadows across the small village of Kamara as Maya stirred from her restless sleep. She could hear her twin sister Layla coughing again, a harsh sound that had become their unwelcome companion over the past 3 weeks. Their mud brick house, shared with their grandmother and 2 younger cousins, felt smaller each day as Layla's condition worsened. Maya rolled over on the thin mat they shared and placed her hand on Layla's forehead. The fever burned like fire under her palm, just as it had for days now. Their grandmother, Nanafatu, had tried everything she knew. Herbal teas made from bitter leaves, cool cloths soaked in well water, prayers whispered in the early morning darkness. Nothing seemed to help. She needs real medicine, Maya whispered to herself, watching Layla's labored breathing. At 15 years old, Maya had already learned that life in their remote village meant making difficult choices. The nearest medical clinic was a 2-hour walk through dusty paths and rocky terrain, and they had no money for treatment. Their parents had died in a car accident when the twins were 12. Since then, Nana Fatu had done her best to care for them, but her arthritis made it hard for her to work in the fields. The family survived on what little they could grow and the occasional coins Maya earned helping neighbors with their chores. Layla had always been the weaker of the 2 sisters. While Maya could carry water buckets without stopping to rest, Layla would need breaks. While Maya could work in the hot sun all day, Layla would seek shade after a few hours. But she was also the gentler one, always ready with a smile or a kind word when others felt discouraged. The illness had started with what seemed like a simple cold. Layla complained of tiredness and a scratchy throat, but as days passed, the cough grew worse and fever set in. She began losing weight rapidly, her clothes hanging loose on her shrinking frame. Dark circles appeared under her eyes, and her once bright smile became rare. Maya had begged Nana Fatu to let her take Layla to the clinic, but their grandmother insisted they couldn't afford it. "We must trust in God and traditional healing," she would say, mixing another bitter tea that Layla could barely keep down. But Maya knew something was seriously wrong. She had seen this kind of sickness before in the village. Last year, their neighbor's son had the same symptoms. His family waited too long to seek medical help, believing that prayers and herbs would be enough. The boy died before his 10th birthday. The thought of losing Layla terrified Maya more than anything else in the world. They had been inseparable since birth, sharing everything from clothes to dreams. Layla was the one who encouraged Maya to keep attending school even when money was tight. She was the one who stayed up late helping Maya with difficult homework by candlelight. She was the one who held Maya when nightmares about their parents' death woke her in the middle of the night. As morning light grew stronger, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She couldn't watch her sister fade away while they waited for a miracle. She would find a way to get Layla to the clinic, with or without permission, with or without money. Maya quietly gathered their few valuable possessions, her mother's silver, bracelet, a small radio that still worked, and the emergency coins Nanafatu kept hidden in an old tin can. She also packed a bottle of water and the last of their dried fruit. Layla was too weak to walk, but Maya was strong from years of carrying water and helping with farm work. She could carry her sister if she had to. The path to the clinic was dangerous for a young girl traveling alone, especially while carrying someone, but Maya pushed those fears aside. She gently woke Layla and explained her plan. Layla protested weakly, worried about getting Maya in trouble with their grandmother, but Maya's determination was unshakable. "I won't let you die," she whispered, helping Layla sit up slowly. Maya wrote a simple note for Nana Fatu explaining where they had gone and promising to find a way to pay for treatment. She left it on their sleeping mat, where their grandmother would find it when she woke up. The 2 sisters slipped out of the house while the village still slept. Maya lifted Layla onto her back, surprised by how light her twin had become. Layla wrapped her weak arms around Maya's neck and rested her burning forehead against her sister's shoulder. As they reached the edge of the village, Maya looked back one last time at the only home they had ever known. She didn't know what lay ahead, but she knew she had to try. With Layla's life hanging in the balance, giving up was not an option. The sun climbed higher as Maya began the long journey toward hope, carrying her most precious burden along the dusty path that led away from everything familiar and toward an uncertain future. The path stretched endlessly ahead of Maya as she carried Layla through the early morning heat. What had seemed manageable in the cool darkness now felt overwhelming as the sun climbed higher. Layla's weight, though lighter than before her illness, pressed down on Maya's shoulders and back. Every step sent sharp pains through her legs, but she forced herself to keep moving. After the first hour, Maya's shirt was soaked with sweat. Her water bottle was already half empty, and she knew she needed to save the rest for Layla, who burned with fever and needed to stay hydrated. The dusty path kicked up clouds around their feet, making both girls cough. "Put me down," Layla whispered weakly. "I can try to walk for a while." Maya stopped and gently lowered her sister to sit on a large rock beside the path. Layla's legs shook just from the effort of sitting upright. Her breathing was shallow and rapid, and Maya could see that even this brief journey had exhausted her further. "Rest for just a few minutes," Maya said, offering Layla small sips of water. She tried to keep her voice cheerful, but inside worry gnawed at her stomach. They still had more than an hour of walking ahead, and Layla was getting weaker by the minute. A small group of women appeared on the path ahead, heading back toward their village with bundles of firewood balanced on their heads. Maya recognized one of them as Mrs. Aminata, who sometimes bought vegetables from their small garden. "Maya, what are you doing out here so early with Layla?" Mrs. Aminata asked, setting down her bundle and approaching the sisters with concern. Maya quickly explained Layla's condition and their desperate journey to the clinic. The women gathered around, clucking their tongues with sympathy and worry. One of them, an older woman named Hawa, knelt beside Layla and felt her forehead. "This child is burning up," Hawa said gravely. "She needs medicine immediately." Mrs. Aminata looked at the long path ahead and then at Maya's exhausted face. "Child, you cannot carry her all that way. You will both collapse before you reach the clinic." "I have to try," Maya said firmly. "She's getting worse every day. If I don't get her help now, she might—" She couldn't finish the sentence. The women exchanged glances. They all knew stories of children who had died from illnesses that could have been treated with proper medicine. In their community, such tragedies were too common. "My husband has a bicycle," offered a young woman named Kadia. "If you can get Layla to sit behind you, it would be much faster than walking." Maya's heart leaped with hope, but then reality set in. "I don't know how to ride a bicycle very well, especially with someone else." "I will come with you," Mrs. Aminata decided suddenly. "My own daughter is about your age. I cannot let you make this journey alone." The other women nodded in agreement. Hawa contributed a small amount of money from her own pocket. "For the clinic fees," she said simply. Kadia promised to run ahead to the village and get her husband's bicycle. Within 30 minutes, Kadia returned with a rusty but functional bicycle. Mrs. Aminata had sent word to the village that she would be away for the day helping the sisters. The women helped secure Layla on the bicycle seat, while Maya prepared to walk alongside, ready to support her sister if she started to fall. Mrs. Aminata took control of steering the bicycle while Maya walked on one side and held Layla steady. This arrangement allowed them to move much faster while ensuring Layla's safety. The older woman's strong hands kept the bicycle balanced even on the rocky parts of the path. "Tell me about your dreams." "Layla," Mrs. Aminata said as they traveled, trying to keep the sick girl alert and engaged. "What do you want to do when you feel better?" Layla's voice was barely a whisper, but she managed to answer. "I want to become a teacher. Maya and we want to help other children in our village learn to read." "That's a beautiful dream," Mrs. Aminata encouraged. "Education is the key to a better future. You girls are smart to value learning." Maya felt tears in her eyes as she listened to her sister speak about their shared hopes. They had spent countless evenings planning how they would one day open a small school in their village, teaching children whose families couldn't afford to send them to the distant government school. As they traveled, Mrs. Aminata told them about her own experiences seeking medical care for her family. She described the clinic they were heading to, explaining that while the building was simple, the nurse there was skilled and kind. She had helped many people from surrounding villages. "The nurse's name is Sister Margaret," Mrs. Aminata explained. "She came from the capital city 5 years ago to work in our area. She speaks our language and understands our ways." The reassurance helped calm Maya's fears about what they would find at the clinic. She had worried that the medical staff might not take them seriously or might demand money they didn't have before providing treatment. As the morning progressed, they met other travelers on the path. Some offered encouraging words, while others shared what little water or food they carried. Maya was touched by the kindness of people who barely knew them, but were willing to help. The sun was approaching its highest point when they finally saw the clinic building in the distance. It was a simple concrete structure with a red cross painted on a white sign. Several people sat in the shade of a large tree outside, apparently waiting to be seen. "We made it, Layla," Maya whispered to her sister. "We're almost there." But as they got closer, Maya noticed that Layla had stopped responding to her voice. Her sister's eyes were closed and her breathing had become even more labored. Panic shot through Maya's chest as she realized they might have arrived just in time, or perhaps almost too late. Maya's heart pounded as they approached the clinic. Layla had become completely limp against her, and Maya could barely feel her sister's breathing. Mrs. Aminata quickly steered the bicycle to the front of the building, calling out urgently in their local language, "Help! We have a very sick child here." Sister Margaret emerged from the clinic immediately. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back neatly. Her white uniform was clean but showed signs of a busy morning. She took one look at Layla and her expression became serious. "Bring her inside quickly," Sister Margaret instructed, helping Maya lift Layla from the bicycle. "How long has she been like this?" "She's been sick for 3 weeks, but she stopped talking about an hour ago," Maya explained breathlessly as they carried Layla into the clinic. The inside of the clinic was simple but clean. There were 4 beds separated by curtains, medical supplies neatly organized on shelves, and a small desk where Sister Margaret kept patient records. The smell of disinfectant filled the air, mixed with the scent of medicinal herbs growing in pots by the windows. Sister Margaret placed Layla on one of the beds and immediately began her examination. She checked Layla's temperature, listened to her chest with a stethoscope, and looked into her throat with a small flashlight. Maya watched anxiously, trying to read the nurse's expression for signs of hope or despair. "Her fever is very high, and her breathing is shallow," Sister Margaret said, speaking partly to Maya and partly to herself as she worked. "She's severely dehydrated and malnourished. This looks like it could be pneumonia, possibly complicated by other infections." Maya didn't understand all the medical terms, but she could hear the concern in Sister Margaret's voice. "Can you help her?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I'm going to do everything I can," Sister Margaret assured her, "but she's very sick." "Why did you wait so long to bring her here?" Maya explained their family situation, the lack of money, and their grandmother's belief in traditional healing. Sister Margaret listened without judgment, nodding with understanding. She had seen many similar cases during her time working in rural areas. "Traditional healing has its place," Sister Margaret said gently. "But some illnesses need modern medicine to cure them. The important thing is that you brought her here now." Sister Margaret started an IV line to get fluids into Layla's dehydrated body. She also gave her an injection of antibiotics to fight the infection. Maya watched every movement, asking questions about each treatment. "The IV will help replace the fluids she's lost from fever and not eating," Sister Margaret explained patiently. "The antibiotic medicine will fight the germs making her sick, but it will take time to work." Mrs. Aminata had been speaking quietly with other patients waiting outside. She returned to tell Maya that word had already spread about their situation. Several families from nearby villages had offered to help with medical costs, understanding that sickness could strike any family. "Sister Margaret," Mrs. Aminata said, "what will the treatment cost? We have very little money, but the community wants to help these girls." Sister Margaret looked at Maya's worried face and made a decision. "The government provides some medicines for free, especially for children. What I can't get for free, we'll figure out together. No child will be turned away from here because of money." As the afternoon wore on, Layla's condition began to stabilize slightly. The IV fluids were helping and her breathing became a little easier. Sister Margaret checked on her every hour, adjusting treatments and monitoring her progress carefully. Maya refused to leave her sister's bedside. Sister Margaret brought her a simple meal of rice and vegetables, insisting that Maya needed to keep her strength up. Mrs. Aminata also stayed, wanting to make sure both girls were properly cared for. "Your sister is a fighter," Sister Margaret told Maya as evening approached. "She's responding to the treatment, but she's not out of danger yet. The next 24 hours will be critical." Maya nodded, understanding the seriousness but feeling more hopeful than she had in weeks. For the first time since Layla became sick, Someone with real medical knowledge was taking care of her sister. As night fell, Sister Margaret prepared a small cot beside Layla's bed so Maya could stay close. The clinic had no electricity, but oil lamps provided gentle light for the night watch. Sister Margaret would check on Layla every few hours throughout the night. "You did the right thing bringing her here," Sister Margaret told Maya as she prepared to rest. "Many people would have given up or waited too long. Your courage may have saved your sister's life." Maya lay on the narrow cot listening to Layla's breathing, which sounded stronger than it had that morning. The fear that had gripped her heart for weeks began to ease slightly. They had made it to help, and skilled hands were now caring for her sister. Mrs. Aminata slept in a chair nearby, having refused to return to the village until she knew Layla was stable. Her presence comforted Maya, reminding her that they were not alone in this fight. Outside, the sounds of night insects and distant village life created a peaceful backdrop. For the first time in weeks, Maya allowed herself to hope that tomorrow might bring good news. She fell asleep holding Layla's hand, whispering prayers of gratitude for making it this far. The worst part of their journey was over. Now came the waiting, and the hoping, and the slow process of healing that would determine whether Maya's desperate gamble had paid off. Maya woke to the sound of Layla coughing, but this time it was different. The harsh, desperate sound that had haunted their nights was replaced by a clearer cough that seemed to be bringing up the infection from her lungs. Sister Margaret appeared immediately, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "Good morning," Sister Margaret said softly, checking Layla's forehead with the back of her hand. "Her fever has broken during the night." "This is very good news." Maya sat up quickly, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. Layla's skin, which had been burning hot for so many days, now felt much cooler. Her breathing was deeper and more regular than it had been in weeks. "Layla?" Maya whispered, squeezing her sister's hand gently. Layla's eyes fluttered open, focusing slowly on Maya's face. For the first time in days, there was recognition and awareness in her gaze. "Maya," she whispered weakly. "Where are we?" Tears of relief flowed down Maya's cheeks as she explained everything that had happened. Layla listened with growing amazement as she learned about their journey to the clinic, Mrs. Aminata's help, and Sister Margaret's care. "You carried me all that way?" Layla asked, her voice still weak but much clearer than before. "I would carry you to the end of the world if I had to," Maya replied, meaning every word. Sister Margaret continued Layla's examination, noting improvements in all her vital signs. The antibiotics were clearly working, and the IV fluids had helped restore her strength. However, she cautioned that Layla would need several more days of treatment and weeks of recovery. The infection was very serious, Sister Margaret explained to both girls. If you had waited even another day or two, the outcome might have been very different. "Maya, your quick thinking saved your sister's life." Mrs. Aminata, who had been dozing in her chair, woke up to see Layla awake and alert. Her face broke into a huge smile as she came over to greet the sick girl. "Look at you, little one. You gave us all quite a scare, but you're a strong fighter just like your sister." As the morning progressed, word spread quickly through the local community that Layla was recovering. People began arriving at the clinic with small gifts: fresh fruit, homemade soup, clean clothes for both girls, and small amounts of money to help with medical expenses. Maya was overwhelmed by the kindness of people she barely knew. An elderly man brought oranges from his small orchard. A woman with her own young children contributed a jar of honey, explaining that it would help Layla regain her strength. A group of teenagers collected coins from their families to help pay for medicines. "Why are they helping us?" Maya asked Mrs. Aminata, touched but confused by the generosity. "Because we are all connected," Mrs. Aminata replied simply. "Today it's your sister who needs help. Tomorrow it might be their child or their grandmother. We take care of each other because that's how we survive." Sister Margaret was also moved by the community's response. She had seen this kind of solidarity before, but it never failed to inspire her. She made sure to thank each visitor personally and to update them on Layla's progress. By afternoon, Layla was able to sit up and take small sips of the soup that had been brought for her. Her appetite was still poor, but Sister Margaret explained that this was normal after such a serious illness. The important thing was that she was keeping fluids down and showing steady improvement. "When can we go home?" Layla asked, though she was clearly still very weak. "Not for several days," Sister Margaret said firmly. You need to complete the full course of antibiotics, and I want to make sure you're strong enough before you travel. Your body has been through a terrible fight, and it needs time to heal properly. Maya was secretly relieved to hear this. The thought of the long journey back to their village with Layla, still so fragile, worried her greatly. Here at the clinic, her sister was getting expert care and steady improvement. During Layla's nap that afternoon, Sister Margaret took Maya aside for a private conversation. They sat under the large tree outside the clinic where other patients and families often gathered. Maya, I want to talk to you about your sister's recovery, Sister Margaret began. She's going to get better, but she'll need special care for the next few months. Good food, rest, and protection from getting sick again. Maya nodded, understanding the responsibility ahead of them. I also want to talk to you about something else, Sister Margaret continued. You showed remarkable courage and determination in getting your sister here. Have you ever thought about a career in healthcare? Maya was surprised by the question. I always wanted to be a teacher like Layla. We plan to open a school in our village. Teaching is wonderful, Sister Margaret agreed. But you have natural instincts for caring for sick people. You stayed calm under pressure, you made good decisions, and you never gave up. These are qualities that make excellent nurses and doctors. The idea had never occurred to Maya before, but as Sister Margaret spoke, she began to imagine herself helping other families the way Sister Margaret had helped them. There are scholarship programs for girls who want to study nursing, Sister Margaret explained. If you're interested, I could help you apply. You could still come back to help your village, but with medical skills as well as teaching skills. Maya felt a new dream beginning to form in her mind. Perhaps her terrifying experience with Layla's illness could become the foundation for helping prevent other families from going through the same fear and desperation. As evening approached and Layla rested peacefully, Maya found herself thinking about possibilities she had never considered before. The worst crisis of her young life might be opening a door to a future she couldn't have imagined just days earlier. On the third day at the clinic, unexpected visitors arrived. Maya looked up from helping Layla eat breakfast to see Nana Fatu walking slowly toward the clinic, supported by their neighbor, Mr. Kofi. Their grandmother's face showed a mixture of worry, relief, and something that looked like anger. Maya's stomach dropped. She had been dreading this moment, knowing that Nana Fatu would be upset about their unauthorized journey. But seeing her grandmother's lined face creased with concern, Maya realized how worried the elderly woman must have been. Nana Fatu, Layla called out weakly from her bed, a smile spreading across her face despite her exhaustion. Their grandmother's stern expression melted immediately when she saw Layla sitting up and alert. She hurried to the bedside as quickly as her arthritis would allow, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. My child, my precious child, Nana Fatu whispered, gently touching Layla's face. I was so frightened when I found your note. I thought I might never see you again. Sister Margaret approached respectfully, introducing herself and explaining Layla's condition and treatment. She spoke carefully, showing respect for Nana Fatu's age and position as the family's elder, while also making clear the seriousness of Layla's illness. Your granddaughter was very sick, Sister Margaret explained. Maya made exactly the right decision bringing her here when she did. Another day of delay could have been fatal. Nana Fatu listened quietly, her eyes moving between Sister Margaret, Maya, and Layla. Maya held her breath, waiting for her grandmother's reaction. Would she be angry about the money they had spent? Would she insist on taking Layla home immediately? Finally, Nana Fatu spoke. I have been foolish, she said slowly. I thought our old ways were enough, that prayers and herbs could cure anything. I was afraid of the clinic, afraid of costs we couldn't pay, afraid of doctors who might not understand our ways. She turned to Maya with tears in her eyes. But you, my brave granddaughter, you were wiser than me. You saved your sister's life with your courage. The tension that had been building in Maya's chest for days finally released. She threw her arms around her grandmother, both of them crying with relief and reconciliation. Mr. Kofi, who had brought Nana Fatu to the clinic, explained that the entire village had been worried about the twins. When word reached them that Layla was recovering, many families had contributed to a fund to help pay for the medical treatment. The whole community wants these girls to come home healthy, Mr. Kofi said, presenting Sister Margaret with a small cloth bag containing money. We understand now that sometimes modern medicine is necessary. Sister Margaret accepted the contribution graciously, though she assured them that the government programs covered most of Layla's treatment costs. She suggested that the community fund could be saved to help other families who might face similar medical emergencies. Over the next 2 days, Layla continued to improve dramatically. She was able to eat larger meals, walk short distances with help, and stay awake for longer periods. Her cough was nearly gone and her energy was slowly returning. Maya spent these days learning from Sister Margaret. The nurse taught her basic first aid, how to recognize signs of serious illness, and the importance of proper nutrition and hygiene in preventing disease. Maya absorbed every lesson eagerly, fascinated by the practical knowledge that could help protect her family and community. "You learn very quickly," Sister Margaret observed as Maya successfully practiced taking a patient's temperature. "I meant what I said about the nursing scholarship. There's a program starting next year that could pay for your education if you're accepted." Maya discussed the opportunity with Nana Fatu and Layla during quiet evening moments. Her grandmother, humbled by recent events, encouraged Maya to pursue any education that was available to her. "Knowledge is power," Nana Fatu said. "I see now that we need people in our village who understand both the old ways and the new ways. You could be a bridge between them." Layla was especially enthusiastic about Maya's potential new path. "You could still teach," she pointed out, "but you could also heal people. Think about how many families you could help, the way Sister Margaret helped us." On their final evening at the clinic, Sister Margaret invited Maya to assist with treating other patients. Maya helped clean wounds, distribute medications, and comfort frightened children while their parents spoke with the nurse. She discovered that she had a natural calm manner with sick people and an ability to help them feel safe and cared for. "This feels right," Maya thought to herself as she held the hand of a small boy, while Sister Margaret examined his infected cut. "This feels like something I was meant to do." That night, as they prepared for the journey home, Maya made a decision that would change her life. She asked Sister Margaret for the application forms for the nursing scholarship program. "I want to learn everything I can," Maya told her. "I want to come back to help people in villages like ours, people who are afraid of clinics or can't afford treatment." Sister Margaret smiled proudly as she handed Maya the forms. "You have the heart of a healer," she said. "And you've already proven you have the courage to act when action is needed." Layla squeezed Maya's hand as they settled down for their last night at the clinic. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You saved my life, and now you're going to save many more." Maya looked around the simple clinic that had become a place of hope and healing for them. Tomorrow they would return home, but she would carry with her new dreams and new possibilities that had grown from their darkest hour. The journey home was completely different from their desperate trip to the clinic. Mr. Kofi had arranged for his friend's pickup truck to transport the family, making the 2-hour walk into a comfortable 30-minute ride. Layla sat between Maya and Nana Fatu, still weak but smiling as she watched familiar landscapes pass by. When they reached their village, Maya was amazed to see people lined up along the main path, waiting to welcome them home. Children ran alongside the truck calling out greetings. Women ululated in celebration, and even the elderly men who usually stayed in the shade of the community tree had come out to see them return. "Look at this," Layla whispered in wonder. "They're all here for us." Mrs. Aminata was among the first to greet them, tears in her eyes as she helped Layla down from the truck. "My brave girls," she said, embracing them both. "You have made us all proud." The community had prepared a special welcome. Their small house had been cleaned thoroughly, fresh food had been prepared, and someone had even brought a comfortable mat and pillow for Layla's recovery. Maya was touched to see how much their neighbors cared about their family. Over the following weeks, as Layla gradually regained her strength, Maya became something of a local celebrity. People sought her out for advice about illnesses, trusting her judgment because of what she had accomplished. She found herself helping families decide when traditional remedies were sufficient and when they needed to seek medical care. "Maya has become our bridge to the clinic," Nana Fatu observed proudly as she watched her granddaughter examine a child's rash. "She understands both worlds now." Maya took her new responsibilities seriously. She created a simple first aid kit using supplies Sister Margaret had given her, and she organized community meetings to teach basic health and hygiene practices. Her natural teaching abilities, combined with her recent medical experience, made her an effective health educator. Meanwhile, Maya worked diligently on her nursing scholarship application, with help from the village school teacher, writing about her experience with Layla's illness, her time at the clinic, and her dreams for the future. Maya poured her heart into the essays required for the program. Tell them about your courage, Layla advised as they worked on the application together. Tell them how you refused to give up even when everything seemed hopeless. Tell them about your compassion, added Nana Fatu. Show them that you care not just about medicine, but about people. The application process was more complex than anything Maya had ever undertaken. She needed academic records, references from community leaders, and medical examinations. Sister Margaret traveled to their village twice to help with the paperwork and to provide a strong recommendation letter. Maya demonstrated exceptional judgment, courage, and natural healing instincts, Sister Margaret wrote. She has the potential to become an outstanding healthcare provider who will serve rural communities with both skill and cultural understanding. While waiting for news about the scholarship, Maya continued her informal role as the village's health advisor. She helped establish a small fund that families could contribute to, ensuring that future medical emergencies wouldn't be delayed by financial concerns. 3 months after Layla's recovery, Maya received news that would change everything. A letter arrived at the village post office with the official seal of the National Scholarship Program. Maya's hand shook as she opened it, surrounded by Layla, Nana Fatu, and several anxious neighbors. Dear Maya, the letter began, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected to receive a full scholarship for nursing training. The rest of the letter was drowned out by cheers and celebrations. Maya had been accepted into a 3-year nursing program at the regional medical college. The scholarship would cover all her education costs, plus a small living allowance. You did it, Layla cried, hugging her sister tightly. You're going to become a real nurse. That evening, the village organized an impromptu celebration. People brought food, music, and good wishes for Maya's future. Even families from neighboring villages came to congratulate her and to thank her for the health education she had been providing. As the celebration continued around them, Maya and Layla sat quietly together under the stars, just as they had done countless times throughout their childhood. I'm scared, Maya admitted. What if I'm not smart enough for medical school? What if I can't learn everything I need to know? Do you remember what you told me when I was afraid of dying? Layla asked softly. You said you wouldn't let fear stop you from doing what needed to be done. This is the same thing, Layla was right. Maya had already proven to herself that she could act with courage when lives depended on it. Now she needed to apply that same determination to her studies. Besides, Layla continued with a smile, I'll be here when you come back. I'm going to finish school and start our teaching program. When you graduate, we'll have the smartest, healthiest village in the whole region. Maya laughed, feeling her confidence return. Their childhood dreams were evolving, but the core remained the same. They wanted to help their community thrive. The weeks leading up to Maya's departure for nursing school passed quickly. She spent her days learning everything she could from the village elders about traditional healing practices, wanting to understand both approaches to medicine. She also continued her health education work, training other young people to recognize when medical intervention was necessary. Knowledge belongs to the community, Maya explained to a group of teenagers she was teaching basic first aid. The more people who understand these things, the safer we all become. Layla had fully recovered her strength and was helping to organize the village's first formal health education program. She designed simple posters showing when to use home remedies and when to seek professional medical care. Her artistic talents, combined with Maya's medical knowledge, created resources that other villages began requesting. Sister Margaret visited one final time before Maya's departure, bringing additional medical supplies and textbooks that would help Maya prepare for her studies. She was impressed by the changes in the village's approach to healthcare. You've created something remarkable here, Sister Margaret told Maya as they walked through the village together. This community has learned to value both traditional wisdom and modern medicine. That's exactly the kind of thinking that will make you an excellent nurse. On Maya's last night in the village, the community held a farewell ceremony. The village chief presented her with a carved wooden pendant that had belonged to her mother, saying it would bring her strength and remind her of home. Nana Fatu gave her a small bag of healing herbs, explaining their uses and encouraging Maya to study how traditional remedies worked alongside modern medicines. You carry our hopes with you, the chief said in his farewell speech, But remember that your greatest strength comes from your caring heart, not just your knowledge. Maya felt the weight of responsibility, but also the warmth of her community's support. She knew that her success would inspire other young people to pursue education and careers that could benefit their villages. As dawn broke on the day of her departure, Maya and Layla stood together at the edge of their village, looking toward the road that would take Maya to her new life. 3 years will pass quickly, Layla said, though her voice was thick with emotion. And when you come back, you'll be able to help so many families avoid what we went through. I'll write every week, Maya promised. And I'll come home during breaks to check on everyone's health. The sisters embraced one final time before Maya climbed into the vehicle that would take her to the regional capital. As her village grew smaller in the distance, Maya touched the wooden pendant at her throat and whispered a prayer of gratitude. She had begun this journey carrying her dying sister in her arms, driven by desperate love and determination. Now she was embarking on a new journey, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire community, driven by the same love and an expanded sense of purpose. The scared, 15-year-old girl who had refused to let her sister die was becoming a young woman who would dedicate her life to ensuring that other families would never face such desperate circumstances alone. Her story was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning. 3 years later, Maya stood at the graduation ceremony wearing her crisp white nursing uniform, a stethoscope around her neck, and tears of pride in her eyes. She had not only completed her nursing education, but had graduated at the top of her class. The same determination that had driven her to carry Layla to the clinic had carried her through countless hours of study, clinical rotations, and challenging examinations. In the audience, Layla sat beside Sister Margaret, both beaming with pride. Layla had kept her promise too, completing her own education and establishing a small school in their village. She had also married a kind teacher from a neighboring community, and Maya could see the gentle swell of her sister's first pregnancy. When I first met Maya, Sister Margaret said to Layla during the ceremony, I saw potential, but even I didn't imagine she would achieve so much so quickly. Maya's professors had taken notice of her exceptional skills and her passionate commitment to rural healthcare. Dr. Adama, the head of the nursing program, had already offered Maya a position in an advanced training program that would prepare her to run her own rural clinic. After the ceremony, Maya was surrounded by her classmates, professors, and family members. But the moment she treasured most was when she finally reached Layla, and the sisters embraced just as they had as children. Look at you, Layla whispered. Nurse Maya, it sounds perfect. Look at you too, teacher and mother-to-be, Maya replied. We both kept our promises. The celebration continued late into the evening, but Maya's thoughts were already turning toward home and the work that awaited her there. During her training, she had returned to her village during breaks, providing healthcare services and continuing her health education programs. Each visit had strengthened her resolve to dedicate her career to rural communities. Sister Margaret had wonderful news to share during the celebration. The government had approved funding for a new rural clinic to be built in Maya's home region, and Maya had been selected to serve as its head nurse. She would have the opportunity to design and implement health programs specifically tailored to the needs of rural families. You'll be able to bridge the gap between traditional healing and modern medicine, Sister Margaret explained. That's exactly what these communities need. Maya's new clinic would serve 5 villages in the surrounding area, providing both emergency care and preventive health services. She would work with traditional healers to create integrated treatment approaches, respecting cultural practices while ensuring access to life-saving medical interventions. 2 months after graduation, Maya returned home to tremendous fanfare. The entire region had contributed to building the new clinic, which was constructed near the central market where all 5 villages could easily access it. The building was simple but well-equipped, with solar panels providing reliable electricity for essential medical equipment. Maya's first patient was a young mother who brought her feverish infant for treatment. As Maya examined the child, she remembered her own desperate journey with Layla and felt profound gratitude for how different this family's experience would be. The baby has a bacterial infection, but we caught it early, Maya explained to the worried mother. With proper antibiotics and care, she'll be completely healthy within a few days. The relief on the mother's face reminded Maya why she had chosen this path. Every family deserved access to medical care without the fear and desperation that had once consumed her own family. Within 6 months, Maya's clinic had become a model for rural healthcare delivery. She had established programs for prenatal care, child vaccinations, health education, and emergency response training. She worked closely with traditional healers, learning from their knowledge while teaching them to recognize conditions that required modern medical intervention. Layla often brought her students to the clinic for health education lessons, continuing their shared commitment to teaching and community improvement. The sisters had created exactly the kind of comprehensive community support system they had dreamed about as children. On the 1-year anniversary of the clinic's opening, Maya was reviewing patient records when she noticed something remarkable. Not a single child from the 5 villages served by the clinic had died from preventable diseases during that year. The statistic represented dozens of families who would never experience the terror that had once gripped Maya and Layla. That evening, as Maya locked up the clinic and prepared to walk home, she paused to look at a special photograph hanging in her office. It showed her and Layla as children, arms around each other, smiling at the camera. Below it hung her nursing diploma and a handwritten note from Sister Margaret that read, "Sometimes the greatest healing comes from those who have experienced the deepest fear." Maya touched the wooden pendant she still wore, the one that had belonged to her mother. She thought about the long journey that had brought her to this moment, beginning with a terrified girl carrying her dying sister and leading to a confident healthcare provider serving her entire community as she walked home under the same stars that had witnessed her childhood dreams and her desperate midnight journey. Maya reflected on the unexpected ways that life's greatest challenges could become the foundation for its most meaningful achievements. She had set out to save one life and had ended up dedicating herself to protecting many. Tomorrow would bring new patients, new challenges, and new opportunities to make a difference. But tonight Maya simply felt grateful for the journey that had brought her home, not as the frightened girl who had once fled this village, but as the skilled healer who had chosen to return and serve it for the rest of her life.